Skips and glitches are synonymous with speedrunning.
Casual player makes a huge discovery that speedrunners missed.
And over the
Wait, oh my god, is this another propaganda that makes fucking chatters look like they're better than actual speedrunners?
years, a ton have been found.
Green
Some of the most
Suichi.
famous are backwards long jumps in Super Mario 64 and wrong warping
I
in
am a
Ocarina of Time.
speedrunner.
And when it comes to backwards long jumps, the earliest mention of them comes from a November 1996 issue of Maga 64. In recent times, speedrun glitches are found by dedicated players that have advanced technical knowledge of how the game and hardware work. Like the hot plate glitch in Dragon Quest III, whereby manipulating the internal temperature of the NES, it's possible to affect the hardware in such a way that you're able to create a fully leveled party and warp to the final boss.
What? If you heat up your Famicom, you can adjust your game of Dragon Quest? That's crazy. That's insane.
These types of glitches typically aren't stumbled upon by players playing the game casually, as the requirements are too precise.
Lord Jint, thank you for the prime.
Just like an infinite amount of monkeys working at typewriters will eventually produce Shakespeare, casual players inevitably stumble upon glitches that
That's so demeaning. That's so demeaning.
One of the most famous cases is that of Boba Skip, where during her first playthrough of Metal Gear Solid, she found a glitch that was previously undiscovered. However, just recently, a casual player stumbled upon something in Super Mario Bros. 2, The Lost Levels, that led to the discovery of a skip that speedrunners missed for the last 39 years. This skip is a big deal, as it currently saves almost 20 seconds, and in today's video, we'll be looking at how it was found, the technical side of how it works, what it skips, and
wait, what the fuck is this? Clips leader? Wait, does this mean, like, you've clipped something that's gotten views so you can, like, cancel me?
and if it will ever be hit by a human in a run. On March 12th, Luigi's sidekick was playing Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels on the Nintendo Switch when something bizarre happened. After jumping onto the floating platform, his game crashed. A couple weeks after this, SMB speedrunner and Tasser, Simplistic, saw it posted in the NES Dev Discord, so he posted it in the 8-Bit Mario Speedrunning Discord, saying that a new crash had been discovered, and that he had managed to replicate it on emulator, but needed to look into what was going on. And on further investigation, he figured out what was happening. The code used to spawn Bowser and CMP Novin had a major flaw. How this works is technical, so to get an understanding of what's going on, let's start with the basics and see how sprites work in Super Mario Bros. 2.
Okay.
The way enemies are spawned is quite straightforward. There's a check that happens off camera as Mario moves through a level, and if an enemy spawn location is ever found inside of the space just off camera, it spawns the relevant enemy sprite and adds it to the active entity list. In regular conversation, the word sprite is typically used to refer to moving objects on a screen, so in this case, the sprites are the characters moving around the game world.
Wait, so it spawns like right off of camera, right? Why doesn't it spawn when the level loads? I guess because it would overload the memory allocated on the console.
However, this definition is a bit more specific on the NES. If we take Mario, for instance, while he does move across the screen, he's actually made up of individual squares that are 8 pixels by 8 pixels. And these squares are what are referred to as sprites for NES developers. The artwork you see inside of the squares are called tiles, but all that tiles are the graphics assigned to each sprite. Mario and Luigi are both given 8 sprites with corresponding tiles, but most entities, such as the Firebar and Blooper, are only given 6 tiles. Even the Goomba, who only uses 4 tiles, is allocated 6, with the top 2 serving no purpose, as they don't even have a hitbox. They're just there because the code was architected for these enemies to have 6 tiles. But there are exceptions. Long Firebars and Bowser are very large entities, so large in fact that they require 12 tiles to produce their entire sprite. In the basic code for enemies, they are only given 6 tiles, so to solve this problem, Long, Firebars, and Bowser are given 2 enemy slots in memory instead of 1, which lets them have another 6 tiles. The act of getting an additional 6 tiles isn't easy, as it's not as simple as just spawning another enemy, so the developers created a special function called Duplicate Enemy Object. When an enemy is spawned into the game, 2 things happen. First, it looks up the type of enemy that needs to be spawned from the enemy type list, then looks at the active entity list to see if there is room for it to spawn. The active entity list has room for 6 objects, 5 of which are for enemies, with the other slot being for power-ups.
So it duped the enemies crashing the game because it ran out of memory.
And flag
I'm
on top
so
of the pole,
smart.
But the Long, Firebar, and Bowser are treated differently. Since these enemies require 2 slots each, the duplicate enemy object function reserves another slot for them. And aside from holding the tiles for the extra parts of the enemy, the only job the extra slot has is to check if the first slot the enemy is stored in has been unloaded so it can unload as well. With regular enemies, the game won't spawn them if the enemy list is full, and the same is true for the Long, Firebar and Bowser, except in the case where the list has space for a single enemy. The developers never created logic in the duplicate enemy function to check if there is space in the list for the extra slot required for Bowser and the Long, Firebar. But if 5 slots are filled,
but how does the game crashing help speedrunners?
The game will spawn it. So you might be wondering, where does the data for the second enemy slot go? If you look at the range of memory addresses for the active enemy list and enemy type list, there's a single byte between them. And if the active enemy list is full, the game uses the empty byte for the data needed to spawn the extra slot of the Firebar or Bowser, and business carries on as usual. So, how does this lead to a crash? When Mario goes between levels or transitions to another room, the game runs code that clears out most of the RAM, which includes all of the enemies from the active enemy list and the extra byte. But when the room loops, such as in some parts of Bowser's Castle, the game only unloads the enemies in the active enemy list. The extra byte that gets filled up by the second slot of the large enemies is left alone in this case. What this means is that if you load the duplicate into the free byte, then loop the room and try to spawn the large enemy into the last spot of the list, the byte between lists will already have data in it. The game then looks ahead in memory and tries to find a 0 value, and the first thing it finds with this value is the green Koopa, which is created earlier by stomping on a Para-Koopa. It then converts the Koopa's data to a new value, which causes the game to look for the pointer to the enemy processing code in a place it wouldn't ever look. And if you're wondering what a pointer is, it's just a programming variable that stores the memory address of another variable. After the game converts the Koopa's data, which is supposed to lead it to the enemy type list, it ends up going very far out of bounds and arrives at the data for the special pause timer that plays when Mario takes damage or grabs power-ups, where it then runs the entity handler code. This results in a crash, or as Simplistic puts it, wreaks havoc, as that code isn't supposed to interact with the special pause timer. However, he also made another realization. Right next to the special pause timer in memory is where the player's controller inputs are stored.
Python devs don't? Oh wait, computer science joke? Is computer science is in the chat. Is this a +2? Or do we not? Haha, Lamau. Okay.
There was potential for
You're all computer scientists.
Arbitrary code execution, or ACE, is a programming exploit where players alter the game's memory, then get it to execute the payload they just wrote. And if they could get the glitch to jump the game's execution to controller inputs, there was a chance they could use that small amount of control to write a useful payload. From here, 4 people worked on making the crash do something useful: 3Creepio, Web2000, Simplistic, and SBD Wolf. The issue they first had to deal with was that while getting the code to read controller inputs would be helpful, it was also restrictive, as it only gave them control over a single byte of data, so any instruction they wrote would be extremely limited. To test if this would even work, they first loaded some data into RAM with another game, then performed a cartridge swap, then triggered the glitch to execute it, and it worked. In case you don't know what a cartridge swap is, it uses the same premise.
So you can program the game while playing? Is that what?
On some games.
Wait. So you can like program it by killing
consoles,
certain
if you load
enemies?
data into RAM, then remove the cartridge, the RAM stays active for a short period before it's cleared. And while the Famicom disk system and SMB2 itself clear some
Holy
areas
shit.
of memory on boot, there is a small part that doesn't get cleared. So by loading their custom code into that section of memory, they were able to verify that the glitch would execute their payload using the stop and swap method. While investigating this further, 3Creepio noticed that when the special timer gets executed as code, you can get it to run joypad inputs from the player 1 and 2 controllers for a few frames, which allowed for greater control when writing a payload, and once this was discovered, he worked with SPD Wolf to try and remove the need for stop and swap. Creepio then figured out something else. The horizontal position of the fireballs Mario shoots can set up a payload that only required a single instruction from the
Wait, so this is like them programming the game.
A task that beat the game in
It
7
looks so
minutes and 44
stupid.
seconds by warping to the credits after jumping in the lava in 8-4, the final level of the game.
What
this
the
was faster
fuck?
than the any percent world record by just over
Done.
19 seconds. But the task performs the credits
What?
warp in the final level of the game, so you might be wondering if there are other levels it could be used on.
19 seconds and Liam's time is
Possible
157?
to be hit by a human. Since this glitch requires a long firebar or Bowser, that reduces the levels it's even possible on to castle levels. And of the 8 castles, only 4 of them have long firebars: 4-4, 5-4, 6-4, and 8-4. 5-4 has no enemies aside from the Podoboos, which are the jumping fireballs, so it's very far
Podoboos.
away from having the requirements. 6-4 doesn't have any power-ups or poison mushrooms, so it's impossible
Thank you,
to fill
Drainin.
the active entity list, which leaves 4-4. This level has all of the ingredients required for the credits warp glitch: a power-up, long firebar, 4 enemies counting the regular firebar, and a second long firebar. So surely the glitch must work, right? Unfortunately,
Surely.
the first long firebar unloads just before the second Goomba
No!
in the hallway spawns.
Thank you, Tom Blix.
So while all the ingredients are present, they aren't quite in the correct positions. However, for the sake of argument, let's assume they were in position. Due to the technical requirements of this glitch, even if the second Goomba spawned earlier, the glitch wouldn't result in Ace since there isn't a power-up or poison shroom near the Bowser fight, which prohibits the glitch from being triggered a second time.
Wait,
So
this is
8-4
crazy.
is the only level in the game where the credits warp can happen. But what about other Mario games? Super Mario Bros. Shares a lot of the code base with the Lost Levels, but in the entirety of SMB, there isn't a single room that has the enemy placement required for the glitch to be executed. But there is another Mario game where the glitch works, and that's All Night Nippon SMB. If you've never heard of it, don't be surprised, as it was made for the Famicom disk system as
I'm such
part
a
of
fraud. I'm
promotion
supposed to know every
celebrating the
Nintendo
Japanese
thing.
radio program of the same name. Only 3,040
What are these
copies were
ugly
made, and
Goombas?
to get one, you either had to win
Ew.
the lottery or show up in person at the station to buy one. The game contains levels
Look
from
at 'em.
Super Mario Bros. And the Lost Levels with some
Look at 'em.
changes, but 8-4 from the Lost Levels appears almost completely unaltered, and when the glitch was tested, it worked with only a few changes to
He
the
warped!
setup.
To
Something
the
odd
end!
about this
How's
glitch
that
is it
work?
involves
That's
Mario
crazy.
using fireballs and jumping into lava. And some users on Twitter were quick to point out that Mario is doing both of these things on the box art of Super Mario Bros.
Oh my
So it
freaking
appears that
God.
the box art of SMB predicted the Ace setup in the Lost Levels.
It was totally
This
intentional.
leaves the question of if the glitch has been hit by a human. Currently, some of the task setups use left and right inputs at the same time.
Let me tell you, it wasn't. I know nothing about it. There's no way it was.
On the D-pad, which is only possible with a broken controller and is banned on the leaderboard.
Have some
But
whimsy?
while
Okay,
all
fine,
this
it
was
was.
going on, 3Creepio was working on making this human viable, and he had made progress. First, he created a task that achieved the credits warp without using left plus right or up plus down inputs. However, this used a technical method to achieve the crash that was out of the player's control. So while it was technically possible for a human, the likelihood of it happening put it out of the realm of possibility. Next, he tried messing with when you use the fireballs, as getting them in the correct memory positions was difficult, as while a crash was possible on this method, it was frame perfect. And his hope was that if he could find a consistent setup, the frame window for the crash would go from a single frame to 4 or 5
Wait, so has
frames.
any human done this?
Currently, 3Creepio is close to finding
Like a
viable
speedrunner?
setup
Gotten to
that works for a
8-4?
human in real time. But as of this video, it hasn't been fully
It's
fleshed
alright.
out.
Keep watching. Okay.
Wait. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
He did
That's
it?
it, yeah, that's it.
Yes! Bang, bang.
I hit
Holy
one
shit!
dimensional and it worked! What?
What?
I
That's
don't know
crazy.
how.
That's right. Nifsky hit the setup from
Nifsky did it! The fucking goat.
And then on April 5th, Lukuki hit it as well.
Yes! Yes!
Wait, I could
my
hit
God,
it.
Let's go.
No. Nifsky, not Mitski.
Oh, let's go, dude.
All that's left is for someone to get it in a full speed run. It may take a while for that to happen, however,
I could do
as
it.
a player would need to get to the final level while being close to world record pace. Any mistake would end their run, so this probably won't happen anytime soon.
I got it! Yes! Come on, come on, come on. That worked, right?
No freaking way!
Oh my god! First 7-4X, first ever ace, first ever RTA ace full game. There it is, baby! Let's go! 745!
Once again, Nifsky pulls a Nifsky, hitting the skip on his 6th run of the day and being the first person to get a world record with the ace glitch. It's insane to think that a game almost 40 years old had a credits warp found in it because a casual player encountered a crash that speedrunners miss.
Holy
Speedrunning
shit.
truly never ceases to amaze me. Thanks for watching, and I hope to
I
see
loved
you in
you.
the next exciting episode.
Wait, this is
of
so
Abysssoft
cool.
Z.
Wait, that's insane. How do you figure that out? Shout out to Abysssoft and shout out to
Misinformation.
Okay, uh-oh. There's a link. Shout out to Abysssoft. That was really cool.
Skip.
Thanks for showing that to me. Wait, how on earth? Hi, I'm the guy who found out about this glitch. Yeah, I never thought in a million years I would discover a speedrun trick, but here I am. Wait, so now, like, I'm scared. What if you guys, like, actually have speedrun tricks? Like, I have to click on every link in the chat. You don't. Surely you don't. Like, what if there's, like, some fucking insane... What if you have some insane thing? Here's the 40-second Mario speedrun. 40-second Mario speedrun. This fits in a Twitch clip. 40-second beating Mario's... Okay, I've gotta watch this. Super Mario World done in 40 seconds? Okay, that's most of the time. 40 seconds? Oh, is this like an ace strat? He's programming. This is insane. Wait, he's fucking programming in the game. And that's the game. Wait, that's crazy.
Let's fucking go.
I made a whole website with this method. This is Squarespace. A Squarespace landing page pops up. Wait, that's crazy. Like, programming to skip the game? I didn't even know something like this was possible. Holy shit. Wow.